Wonderful. Thank you very much, Amy. What a great way to start the meeting. Putting us all at ease. I love it. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Talk Parish this evening. Greetings to you from Storage Village Hall, where I need to attend a parish council meeting about, well, a parish meeting about road safety in half an hour. So I'm afraid I won't be with you the whole time, but my colleague, my cabinet colleague, Ange Tyler, will close the meeting. I'm Councillor Ellie Chance. I'm the Cabinet Member for Economy and Environment. Apologies from David Hitchener, leader, that he can't be with us tonight. And warm welcome to you all for this session, which is going to talk carbon as well as talk various other things, including an update on local policing. But as you can see from the agenda on the screen, we've got some fantastic speakers here to share some information about what's being done in Herefordshire on a county-wide level in terms of trying to address our targets to be carbon zero and nature rich. The work of the Herefordshire Green Network, which is a fantastic independent organisation bringing together individuals and organisations working on this, and then several speakers sharing stories of what's being done at parish council level in a number of places. I'm really delighted that Herefordshire set this cross-party target to be zero carbon by 2030 several years ago, and within the council we've been doing loads to address not just our own carbon footprint as an organisation, but to also help to mobilise people across the county, including establishing the Climate and Nature Partnership Board that Ben Boswell will talk to you about, running the Greener Footprints campaign, and the Herefordshire Citizens Climate Assembly that we held earlier in the year, and we're taking forward projects now arising out of that, and essentially inspired by what citizens from across the county, residents, said they wanted us to do. So I think without further ado, I'm going to hand over to the rest of the agenda. We're going to start off with an update on local policing from Ed Williams. And although I can't stay with you the whole of the evening, I will make sure that I listen later to catch up with all of the discussions that you'll be having. So Ed, I can't see you on screen, but
I'm here, don't worry.
Hello, Ed.
Hi, Ellie.
Over to you for an update. Thank you.
Introduction. Folks, good evening. Thanks for welcoming me back 6 months after the last time I gave an update to local policing. As you are aware, and those of you who don't know, this is the forum that I come to every 6 months as the superintendent for Herefordshire to give you some of the headlines into what the team, your local policing teams, have been doing over the last 6 months, and then to a look ahead as to what's coming over the horizon. Christmas is nearly here. So starting in the centre, it's been an incredibly busy time. The team have worked hard. Those of you that regularly frequent Hereford City Centre, we've been working with local businesses to tackle our group of street drinkers, successfully securing evidence for what we call a criminal behaviour order, which is basically an order with a set of rules that individuals have to comply with, and then if they don't, they often come with a power of arrest. Not always, but usually, if successful, they are granted with a power of arrest, which allows us to take positive action against antisocial and unruly behaviour. 5 drug warrants have been executed in Hereford in the last 6 months by your Safer Neighbourhood teams. A number of stop searches on the lines, Belmont Road, in and around the Newtown Farm area, which has resulted in successful seizures of cannabis, cocaine, and ketamine. And some of you may have also seen that we've worked closely with our partners at the Hereford Times to showcase some of the activities that your local policing teams are doing. I'm a great believer, if we don't tell the public what we are doing, they are blissfully unaware. And we need to work really hard across a number of different platforms to tell the public what brilliant work that our teams do, but also to use it as a platform of a two-way conversation to respond to the community concerns of what we've been doing. Further afield across the county, because it's not just about Hereford, of course, various parish councils will tell me that, and of course it is very true. In the Bromyard area, we're in the process of setting up 2 new community speed watch groups, and those of you that haven't considered it, I would really urge you to consider it. I know there's been some issues at our end for various vetting procedures, but that is becoming better, more of a faster process now. So again, please consider how we can work with you to tackle speeding. In Leominster, we've successfully introduced some female self-defence classes, which were really well received, funded by the PCC and supported by our police community support officers. We've tackled youth antisocial behaviour in the town centre through continual patrols and positive engagement. And call demand now is significantly dropped, which is great to see as we enter what traditionally is a busy week of Halloween week, but also then as we go into the darker nights and the nighttime economy. We've also engaged with an unlawful encampment through members of the travelling community who'd set up at Leominster Golf Club, successfully engaging them and successfully bringing that to an end relatively quickly. So really grateful for all of you, those who were involved with the regular engagement, the dialogue, and importantly, putting plans in place to mitigate that from happening again in the future. And then only last week, I was at a great community meeting in Shobden, the Shobden School actually it was. I think there was over 50 members of the public present through speed watch groups or local parish councils from the area of Shobden and a little further afield. And it was great to see so many people in and around and speaking about rural crime and road policing issues. Coming up across the county, we've got a number of patrol strategies and engagement type events as we lead up to the Christmas period. The World Cup, of course, it's a new concept for us in that we've never had a Winter World Cup. England's first game is on a Monday or Tuesday in the afternoon, and then the 2 other group games are at 7 o'clock in the evening. So we've increased the number of officers on the streets, as it were, for those 3 games, and we've put plans in place, should they progress, hopefully they will, all the way through to the final on the 18th of December, which you don't need me to tell you, a week before Christmas, if England were to get to a World Cup final, it would bring somewhat of a challenge in terms of demand to all public services. So we wish them all the very best, but also regular engagement with a number of different communities, recognising that Christmas can be a difficult time for many across Herefordshire for various different reasons, working with our partners to ensure that we can get our messages out as far and as wide as possible, and working with voluntary agencies such as Venture, but not limited to Venture, the local authority, to ensure that everybody has a safe, peaceful, and ultimately on their own this Christmas. I'm conscious that time is really, really tight. Your agenda is really busy. I will plug Neighbourhood Matters. We signed up 17 last week. The Neighbourhood Matters is a free sign-up service, but it's the best way of you contacting your local policing team, to having a conversation with them and understanding what's going on in your area. Please, 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 you cannot push it enough to members of the public, and you cannot help us enough by making sure that you're signed up to it and friends and family are signed up to it too. You can localise it to your area and localise it to the things that you're interested in. So I would be really grateful as we continue our work to police the local policing community charter, which you've heard me speak about before. Happy to take any questions. Thanks ever so much. Unless you're just going to tell me I was on mute for the last 5 minutes. I've got a hand up, but I can't see who that is. So if you just want to shout out, if that's a question.
Thanks, Ed. Peter Ginman, US Harold Group Parish Council. We're getting a bit short of the ground with police locally. You said talk to the police team. I think we've got one leaving and we're going to be down to one. Just wondered whether numbers are an issue and whether you're going to make sure we get boosted back to where we should be and all across the Golden Valley.
Yeah, so we are actively recruiting. You'll have seen the adverts or heard them on the radio. We are continuing to recruit both police officers and police community support officers, which play an equally important role. I'm really content with our numbers. We've got plans for those staff that do choose to go and do other things when roles are advertised, we've got plans to actively backfill them. I don't know if I've got anybody on from the Bromyard area, but you will shortly be receiving welcoming a new police officer, and we will be doubling the number of police officers in Bromyard as the local police officers. In terms of the Golden Valley, that will remain as one police officer, but we will make sure that we've got that consistent coverage across the county, and we'll be able to flex resources as and when required. Any other questions, folks? No?
Ed, I'll just ask something, please. It's Pauline Crockett.
Hi, Pauline.
Hiya. You know, when you came into your post, you promised a lot more community engagement, and that really started off well, as in my 4 parishes on my ward at Queenswood regularly had visits from your teams. But now, sadly, that has really drifted off. We've not seen anybody at the 2 main parish councils, which is Wellington and Burgh Hill. And we do desperately want them to come and just show their faces and see what's going on locally. So I just wondered, who's the best person for me to contact to try and get that engagement going again?
So the best person to contact is Inspector James Ashton. So as part of our community charter work, my expectation is that for each parish council to have an agreement with their local policing team as to how frequently they will be provided updates with. Now, that clearly won't all the time be a police officer in person, but you should be able to work an agreement with your local policing team. And I'm making this up now, but once a quarter, the police officer will physically attend. And for those opportunities, those times when he or she can't attend, you'll be provided with a written update. But Inspector James Ashton will be the best person to arrange that with, Pauline.
That's great, thanks, Ed. And I know we've had in the North Rural area, we've had changes in the team. So we do deal quite regularly with PCSO Christina Howard, and she's about the only one that we can get hold of. But it would really be good for somebody to come and attend, and I'll get hold of Inspector James Ashton. Thanks, Ed.
And please, if you don't get any joy, I'll be disappointed. But secondly, don't hesitate to contact me afterwards, Pauline. If that's the case, I'm sure we can sort that out.
Yeah, you know I will, Ed. Thanks.
No problem. I think I've got a hand up, Michael Handley.
Yeah, Chair of Avery Council. I tried one day to get through to either the inspector, sergeant, PC, and the PCOs, SOs, and I could not get anyone.
Okay.
Is there somebody on duty for, let's say, our Kington area, and that's Wunton and Amley, every day or not?
So the way the shift patterns work, the Safer Neighbourhood team, it might be that there may be occasions when nobody from your Safer Neighbourhood team is on when you were calling. Yeah. However, we're a much bigger team than just a single Safer Neighbourhood team. To reassure everybody on the call, we have a 24/7 response team, so the 999 cops, as I call them. We have got supervisors on duty. So 2 years ago, 18 months ago, I was sat here and I had a maximum of 2 Safer Neighbourhood team sergeants across the county. I've now got 4, so 2 for the centre, 1 in the north and 1 in the south. So even if your dedicated sergeant isn't on, I am very confident that we will have a Safer Neighbourhood team sergeant for you to contact. Now, obviously, the clear instruction I've given my staff is when they are off duty or not working, they have got no requirement to answer their phone, but the voicemail should be updated to say when they'll be back on duty, i.e. they work a variable pattern. And therefore, when they're on duty, their mobile phone should be on, their email should be monitored, and I'd expect them to come back to you in a relatively short period of time, recognising obviously they do get up to all sorts, and sometimes they're pulled away for other demands. But I'd be disappointed if you didn't get a call back, and happy to take back offline like this.
Can I tell you exactly what happened?
If there's time.
Quickly, I live in down a narrow road, country road. A tractor pulling about 30 ton, a young lad on there on a mobile phone. I went to the farm, managed to find which farm he was hauling from. I went to the farmer, was in a meeting. Somebody told me to go in. I went in. There was a glass between me and the meeting. I pointed to the farmer who was managing the farm. I said, pointing to him, I said, I want to see you. He came out. I said, who's hauling your corn like? So I managed to find the number. By the time I stopped one of the other tractor drivers to find out who was driving, he'd already had the message, sent the message out to all his haulage lads who was hauling. To anybody on the phone will get instant dismissal. But at that time, I could not get a sole policeman in the area. See, that was my annoying part. Was our biggest problem in Herefordshire is lads of all ages on the mobile phones driving tractors, and I think a sergeant or a PCSO are supposed to be going around every farm in Herefordshire about the lads on mobile phones. Is that correct?
To say every farm in Herefordshire is probably a big. However, I do know, and if it's not your area, it's very close to it. Safer Neighbourhood Officer PC Dean Wall has visited a number of farms recently in the north of the county, delivering not only that message but other messages around road safety that have been fed back to us around from concerned residents, which was one of the elements that was covered in the meeting at Shobden last week. So absolutely confident that work will continue to go on going, and now obviously enter the harvest season in earnest. That will be renewed and certainly on the radar of your local policing teams. I apologise for when you called that you weren't able to get hold of anybody, but I'll certainly, if I take your details, I'll get somebody to drop your line next week.
You've got two more questions, Ed. You've got one from Dave Morgan and Chris Bucknell.
Yeah, can I just say that I'm the clerk of Kings Cable and Wellington, and I have had absolutely amazing service from the community teams. Yes, they haven't always managed to get to meetings, of course, with their shift, but I have never once failed to have a response to my email or my queries. So thank you very much for that. They have been superb with everything they've got to do. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
That's very nice to hear. We don't always get positive feedback, but thank you. It is appreciated when we do. Did you say there was somebody else as well?
There's Dave Moore,
yeah,
Peter Church, and then oh, sorry, Andrew, your hand's up as well.
Yeah. Hello.
Yep.
Right. Good evening, Dave Morgan from Parish Council. Only picking up on something that Peter Ginman said. We're also Golden Valley. Do I understand from your comments there that the Golden Valley will now be policed but only one officer?
No, there's no reduction. So there's one police officer in Golden Valley,
yeah,
and a police community support officer. So there's no reduction.
I believe that community support officer is moving, is he?
Yeah. So Mr. Knight,
yes,
Pete,
yeah,
is going to go into our problem-solving hub and to head up some of the responses around business and rural crime, especially of Golden Valley, and as a result of the current police community support recruitment campaign we are running, we will provide that backfill. So you will get a newly qualified police community support officer in the not too distant future.
Right.
But this is really important because I do get myself into trouble when I come onto these forums and my messaging is mixed. There are no changes, there are no reductions to the
Yeah, but
overall number.
basically you're still recruiting and yet to recruit a replacement. And then train.
Yeah.
I presume by the time they're trained, that's next spring, is it?
I haven't got the timeline in front of me. It all depends on individual circumstances around vetting, how we can get them into the organisation. And as you can appreciate, a police community support officer's induction and training is significantly less than a police officer. So it is a lot quicker. I'd be disappointed if they weren't there long before the spring, if I'm honest with you, without being able to give you an exact date off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm really sorry to butt in, but we have got a lot to pack in. Can we just hear from Councillor Tyler, and if anyone's got any questions, if you could pop them in the chat and I'll make sure they're passed on to Ed when the meeting's finished. Is that okay? Councillor Tyler,
yes, just very quick. Yeah, thank you, Amy. Just very quick. Ed, I'm just thinking the neighbourhood matters that goes out. Is there any opportunity of updating the PCOs around the whole county? Because I've had a number of PCSOs change and they do a fantastic job. They're always replying back to me. I can't grumble about my team, but they've moved around quite considerably and I've lost track who's moving around. I'm just wondering for some consistency here in the neighbourhood matters, whether we could put sort of like who's in what area, just to have an idea, but maybe it's just a thought, just to help.
Yeah, we've got that information readily available. I know you're meeting James Ashton about something else next week. Now, I'll make sure that James provides that to you, and then the members of this group. It'll be next week because James is at the office this week, but we'll be able to get that next week. That's no problem at all.
Thank you. Thanks, Ed.
Brilliant. Thanks very much to Ed. If we could have Ben now, please.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Amy. Shall I just share my screen a second? Has that come through okay? Can you all see a slide on my screen?
Yes,
Perfect. So yeah, thank you. So my name is Ben Boswell. I'm Head of Environment, Climate and Waste at Herefordshire Council. And thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to you today about some of the really exciting work we're doing on carbon and nature reduction across the county. So I'm going quick because I've got 5 minutes and a lot to get through. So I thought I'll start with a very quick slide, really just sort of saying we talk around carbon emissions in Herefordshire, and I thought I'd just show you what that looks like in Hereford. So as Councillor Shine said at the start, Herefordshire set a really ambitious target to become carbon neutral by 2030, and I wanted to show what that means really. What you'll see on here is the red line in the middle is what Herefordshire's emissions look like and have looked like over the past 15 years. And then on the right here, really just sort of saying what's our current trajectory and what does hitting carbon neutrality mean? So what you'll see here is this sort of pie shape is the challenge we've set ourselves. So it's about going from our current trajectory that see us get to net zero by about 2044 and actually accelerating that to deliver it by 2030. And it's important to note really that the national target is for 2050. So delighted that Herefordshire has set a much more ambitious target. This next slide I won't go into now because there isn't the time, but I wanted to include it for you really if you wanted to take the slides away. This just shows what the breakdown of carbon emissions in Herefordshire looks like. So you can see, you know, what percentages from transport, buildings, etc. So what I really want to talk to you today about is what we're doing. And in order to really bring together all the activity in the county, we've established a new climate and nature board. So what we did was we set up an open recruitment process, and we're really looking for experts in the field, leaders in the community, influencers in large organizations. And I'm delighted that we've established a 16-strong board of really fantastic people that bring so much expertise and influence and knowledge from all rafts of the county really. I haven't got time to go through this in detail, but what I can do is send you a link to our website and you can find out a lot more about everyone on the board. When I say website, what we've done is we've set up a brand new dedicated website called Herefordshire Zero Carbon and Nature Rich. So what we've done on here is bringing together all the activity of the board, all the activity around the county, and really just trying to have it as an area where we've got all of our action plans that sets out how we're going to hit that target and get down to zero by 2030. And also there's a lot of self-help guides, case studies, ways for people to get involved. And as you'll see on the right, we've got six action plans to get us to net zero. And if you go onto our website, you'll be able to look in detail at all of those. And what we're doing at the moment is updating those. So every sort of 3-4 months, we're going to continually update and iterate those action plans, because really, you know, as we engage everyone in the county and work to engage all organisations, individuals, businesses, and getting their actions, it's sort of bringing it together, and it's sort of growing, and it's that sort of snowball effect as we gain more momentum towards our target. In terms of communications, we set up a new Herefordshire-wide campaign called Greener Footprints. Hopefully you've come across it, and if you haven't, there's plenty of stuff in here I can share with you. And really that is to celebrate the success that's going on, to help support people to take action in their own lives, to help them in their businesses. And we've got a number of other interventions and sort of projects within that. For example, one of them we ran earlier in the year was sort of saying, you know, what can individuals do to reduce carbon in their own home? So we did 22 things in 2020. Again, it's like a resource of how people can take action individually. We're working with a number of campaign partners and organisations with the Greener Footprint, so they're signing up and promoting this, working with us to engage more residents and communities. And we've also got a dedicated business engagement piece as well called 30 for 2030, where we're really working with, we're looking to recruit up to 30 businesses, and to be honest, more than that if more want to get involved. I think we're probably at the low 20s at the moment. This hasn't been running too long, and what we're doing is working with each of those businesses to look at what they can do in their own organisation, how they can work with their employees, their supply chain, their customers to reduce their carbon footprint, improve nature in their organisation. We're also in the throes of developing some more additional support to help those really, to sort of say how we can do carbon auditing, to go through in detail with them and help them do dedicated action plans. I'm cantering through because I'm conscious of time, but all of this is on the website if you'd like to look through it. And really, how can parish councils get involved? So what we've done again through the Greener Footprints campaign is develop the Greener Footprints pledge. So again, it's part of the website where individuals and organisations can sign up, then sort of make pledges as to how they can reduce their carbon footprint in their own organisation. And we've been developing, as I said, a number of guides. We've got carbon workout group guides, we've got farming toolkits, and we're developing loads of resources out there to help different organisations and individuals reduce their own carbon footprint. So I would urge you, please have a look and please sign up. So that's it for me. I'm conscious I only had 5 minutes and I've probably covered a lot, but any questions?
Thanks, Ben. I can't see any hands up. If anybody thinks of anything that they'd like to ask Ben, feel free to pop it in the chat again, and we'll make sure that those are sent over to him and that you do get a response. We are rapidly running out of time. We are now going to hear, please, from Claire Cherry from the Herefordshire Green Network.
I did have my hand up.
Oh.
Very, very quickly, I don't see solar panels mentioned on that report.
Solar panels are definitely part of what we're looking to achieve. So I didn't have time to go into too much in detail, but as part of our energy and buildings action plans, we are working to support solar panels deployment across the county. So as the council, we're working with schools at the moment to put solar panels on schools. We've got solar panels on a number of our buildings. We're also developing a new scheme that we're hoping to launch in the next few months, supporting businesses offering grants for renewable energy and energy efficiency measures, which would support solar panels as well. So definitely part of the solution.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. Thank you. Sorry, I missed you off. Have we got Claire Cherry? Is she?
Yeah, I'm here.
Brilliant. Thank you. It's over to you now then, Claire.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for having me, and also for the input, future input in a few minutes of Nigel Moore and Sheila Wren. Unfortunately, I think Mary Albright, who's meant to be joining us, Councillor Albright, is having difficulty getting in, so I'm not sure whether she'll be able to be part of this presentation. So I just saw that Vicky asked a question about whether Greener Footprints was taking over from the Great Collaboration, and no, both projects, both programs that are in communications with each other, and that ongoing discussions about how we can work together, and those have been happening since the beginning of the launch of the Greener Footprints work by the County Council. So there's some overlap, but they're not exactly the same, and hopefully I'll be able to explain where the differences are as we go along. So I'm just going to share my screen. And you should have had these in advance. So hopefully you'd have been able to look and maybe go on the Great Collaboration website. The project was set up after about 3 or 4 years ago, Herefordshire Green Network.
Sorry, Claire, just to interrupt. Were you trying to share your screen?
Yeah, sorry, has it not worked?
No, we've not got it at the moment.
Oh, no, and I practiced earlier on as well. Let me try again.
Oh, that's probably where it went wrong.
Let me try again. I am a co-host, aren't I? I believe I'm a co-host. Let me just check that I'm a co-host.
I should have made you one, Claire.
Yeah, I am. Okay, so let's try all over again.
Yes.
Okay. My apologies. You should see the screen now. Is that right? Is that okay? Yeah, lovely. Yeah. Right. So 3 to 4 years ago, Herefordshire Green Network did some roadshows across the county to ask local communities what they wanted to do, what they needed, what support they needed to start making carbon reduction actions in their own parishes. And what came back was, we need a toolkit, we need information, we need data, we need to know what our communities are looking for, what support they need, and how we can support them. So the Great Collaboration came from that, and it provides on its website over 60 actions that can be taken by individuals, so at individual level. And those include, for example, all sorts of ideas that have been endorsed and that were developed and endorsed with the Centre for Alternative Technology in Machynlleth, and are aimed at being easy. So easy to do, fairly small changes, because those are the sort of things that people can hook onto and feel that they're making a difference. And then maybe some of the bigger, more expensive ones can be added on. So it's split into, much like Greener Footprints, it's split into sections around buildings and transport, and money and energy, food waste, land use, but also using your voice. So how you can negotiate with your parish council, how you can negotiate with the county council, but how you can, for example, also speak to your MP. Each of these sections is broken down into areas where, if you click on them, you can choose to commit to something, commit to taking an action. You can say that you've already taken it, or you can say, no, I'm sorry, I can't do this. This is not for me right now. And that might give you then the opportunity to, that will give you the opportunity to say, okay, I'm not quite sure what I need to do. I need some extra support. And that allows then for the next stage, so each of these actions with the already done ones will come up on a screen for you, which is part of a toolkit. So you can log onto it and remind yourself of the actions that you've already done, but it can also remind you of actions that you can't do right now, but you're committing to do, and give you more information about that in the toolkit. And then it can give you, this provides then a screen that the parish council can see. So the website captures that information and collates it at a local level from the user's postcode, and it creates a report for the whole parish. So this is an example of what a blank report would look like. And it allows then at parish level for councillors to say, okay, we've got 4, 5, 6 people who want to do some draft busting in their homes, but they're saying they don't have the information to do that at the moment. So there can be a response locally for the parish council to focus in on that can be helpful for that piece of action. So you need a critical mass of data, so enough people need to be engaged, but actually even the small amount of data can help with a next stage consultation, for example. So, okay, there seem to be a few people that are asking about energy in buildings. And obviously that's a really important, I was going to say hot topic, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that, but it's a really important topic at the moment. But it may be that there are some fairly easy wins for a parish council to be able to bring in an external organisation to look for some more information or to organise something. And the idea of the project is that at parish level, parish councils can take action together that start with, for example, accepting that there's a climate emergency, a climate and nature emergency. And then once they've done that, committing to listen to the community about what the community needs for them to be able to move forward. So, for example, one of the things that you could do is in moving forwards is to look more closely at the data that's available about your parish. Now, this isn't in your slide set, and the reason it's not in your slide set is because I only looked it up today. I wanted to make it as current as possible. And this is from an impact tool that is provided by the Centre for Sustainable Energy and the University of Exeter. And you'll notice it's a very similar breakdown actually to the one that Ben just shared with us for the whole of Herefordshire. Obviously, you can't see all of the detail, but what it allows you to see is where the most carbon is being used at parish level. And you can download this report with all the background information about how the data is being gathered. So, for example, some of it is about what's happening in the area. So from farming and from the existence of farming, the existence of roads, but not necessarily the local use of it. And some of it is what's actually been used and done in that community. So another report that it can provide is a comparison between your parish, and I'm sorry, Nigel, that this is Langaran, but that's where I live. So it's Langaran Parish, Herefordshire as a total, and in comparison to Great Britain. These are, the Great Britain is an average figure, but the other is based on the local situation. And you can see from Langaran's point of view that housing, which, unsurprisingly is a very big use of carbon. We're very much a rural parish with very much reliance on oil for heating, and with lots of old houses. So this can allow a parish council, this can inform a parish council about what it does next, who it asks to come in and offer advice to add into the mix of what's available. So on the website as well is a specific resource pack for the parish councillors to access. So in that, it's got guidance on how to make a declaration, what language you can use, and obviously it's not it's guidance. It's not telling you what to do. And then a template as a carbon reduction plan that you might like to complete as so that you know where you're heading, and then some materials for promoting what you want to do with the community. So some of this, I'll show you some examples in a minute, but some of this might be for social media, some of it might be for posters or other local promotion. And then it's got on here a report. And actually this was where we were uploading local reports for local councils that were linking with the Great Collaboration. But actually what you've got, or what I've already explained to you, is that you can get that report really easily based on your parish without having to go into any kind of complicated Google Drive link. You can just click on it really easily to get your local resource on the details of what's happening in your community. So this is an examples of some of the social media resources that are available, and there's also links to national campaigns. So for example, the recent waste management campaign of last week would have been one of the resources. So that's a quick run through of the Great Collaboration, but I've added in another, and I'm very happy to take questions before Nigel and Sheila speak. Sheila's going to speak first and then Nigel. It's 2 years since we got our first funding for this project, and it's therefore very timely that we should ask for feedback from anybody that's had anything to do with the project, whether you've just clicked on it and you've been interested because you've come to the talk tonight but you didn't know anything about it before, or because you've actually engaged with it. I know there's several people here that have already got projects going in their area. So we're asking for some feedback on that. And while the rest of the talks are going on, I'll put some links into the chat. I can't just do it at the moment while I'm not able to do that many things all at the same time. But I will put some links into the chat about this, and also on the Herefordshire Green Network website, there's some information about some feedback sessions that we're running on Zoom. And the dates and times are there. But if you don't want to do that, if you'd just like to email me and we can organise either a conversation or for you to get linked into an online survey, then we can do that too. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. I'm sure you've seen enough of the screens and things, but I'm very happy to take questions, and I will look for hands raised or and I can't see any. Oh, I can. Councillor Tyler.
Yeah, thank you. That was very interesting. I'm struggling to see the difference between the two. Could you just highlight a couple of parts that is quite different to what Herefordshire Council's doing? I can understand that you're trying to be more ingrained with the parishes, but how do you link with the council's agenda as well? I just can't really see that at the moment.
So, well, Ben's got his hand up. He might want to answer that question. Do you want to start that, Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, by all means, if you want to jump in, please do. But I just wanted to say we've got a number of members of the Herefordshire Green Network on the board for the Climate Nature Partnership. So we are very much working together on this. I think, as Claire said from the outset, we did look at how we might jointly brand some of these resources, and I think that does pose some challenges, and we've been trying to battle with that. But you know, we are all working together on this, and some of the, the resources in here are fantastic. So there's some really, really great stuff that's been pulled together by the Great Collaboration team, and we are trying to pull it all together. But actually, there's so many avenues and networks to be able to reach people. It's trying to make the best of all of that as well. So yeah, I mean, I think the work they're doing is absolutely fantastic, and we are tying in with it from our side as well.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. I've heard about this on the sort of sideline, but it's good to see what is going on in all the parishes at the moment. And thank you very much for that update. Thank you.
Anybody else got any questions? Okay. Oh, sorry.
Susan, I think.
Susan, yeah, saw you waving, Susan. Sorry. Yeah, just saw you then.
Oh, sorry, I was clicking the wrong thing to unmute there. Hello, I've got a friend who lives in Ledbury, and they live in a listed building, and they've been refused permission to put solar panels on the roof or get double glazing because of the listing though the solar panels would not be visible from the ground level, and their house is quite drafty. So I'm just wondering, is there anything that could be done to kind of find a happy medium between conservation principles and trying to green older buildings, since we've got an awful lot of old listed buildings in the county? That was all.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a project that the Herefordshire Green Network are running at the moment as well, called Building Sense, and I can put a link to that in the chat in a minute too. They're running a series of, just making a note for myself so I don't forget, they're running a series of workshops, and they've got some YouTube links on the Green Network website that you can find, of talks that have been running, and they're doing events around the county as well during October. And yes, absolutely, it's one of the real challenges in Herefordshire, in that we've got a huge number of older buildings and some that are listed, and that does bring its challenges, but they should be able to advise that person on what they can do, what the limits are, what they are, you know, what can be achieved. And quite often the quickest thing, you know, the simplest things are often the quickest to get done, and just checking first of all that they've got ticked all their boxes with insulation and things like that first, and then getting somebody in, a specialist in, to be able to advise them about what alternatives there are. What the Building Sense is also doing is training local tradespeople to be qualified to do retrofitting to a very high, you know, to a really good high standard, because we don't have enough qualified tradespeople in the county and around to do that. And retrofitting is often the way that people have to go with older buildings. And yes, I can see Ben's hand raised there. Is that also in response to this question, Ben? Do dig in if it is.
Yeah, I was just going to say in support of that, really. I mean, just because something is listed doesn't necessarily mean it can't have solar panels. So it would be worth getting in touch with the historic buildings team and sort of taking some pre-planning advice, really, on what might be possible. So you know, that is available as well.
And there's something in the chat as well that that Jeremy has put in as well, so that might be helpful to you.
Well, it's just my understanding is they had a long meeting with Herefordshire Historic, you know, the environment, what they call it, conservation officers, and it's just a blanket, no, it's listed building, no, you can't do it. And there's no suggestions of how to move forward, which I think people would like, you know, if they're willing to put that personal investment in, then surely there should be people in the council that can say, oh, you know, we wouldn't allow this, but we would allow that, you know, rather than just telling people, no, it's your choice to live in a listed building, go away.
Okay, well, if I drop my email address in the chat, do you mind getting in touch, and I'll pick up with you after? Is that all right?
Yeah, thanks, Ben. If you can follow that, that would be really good. Thank you.
Okay, so if there aren't any more questions for me, I think we can move on now to Sheila Wren, who's from Colwall Greener, which is a really exciting project that I visited. I went to a meeting that they held last week, and I'm sure she's going to tell you what's going on there in just a quick 5-minute talk. Sheila.
Thank you, Claire. I will try and stick to the 5 minutes. Can you hear me okay? Fab, thank you very much. I should just emphasise that I'm billed as on my screeners from Colwall Parish Council, which is true. I am a Colwall Parish councillor, but I am most definitely talking in my capacity as convener of Colwall Greener, which is an entirely independent project from the Parish Council, albeit that we do have moral support from the Parish Council, and it's all to do with the history of how it came about. I'll just dwell on that for a moment. About 10 years ago, perhaps a little over 10 years ago, there was a very active Colwall Greener group, really started by a gentleman called Robin Coates, who many of you probably have heard of. Some really good projects came out of that, a lot of them to do with the car club, putting solar panels on the village hall, and also conducting heat loss surveys of some of the buildings in some homes in the parish. And it was quite an active group, and the members of it continued being active, but they sort of migrated away to other projects, not least Transition Malvern. So a year ago, I happened to be talking to Robin, and in the course of the conversation said, I wonder what would happen if we just put the word around some of the likely suspects, how many people might come to a meeting. So we did that, and quite a few people did come, and we've sort of carried on from there. So we've kind of started again last November, so just under a year ago, with the clear aim of keeping the focus very much on the local community and on the small things that local people can do to confront the climate and ecological crises. So that's very clear in our aim. We've got a constitution. We're and I can't ever remember the title of it. We're not a registered charity. We're the next one down from that. But we've got a bit of a constitution which has enabled us to bid for some money. We've done the usual thing and refreshed our logo, and we have a tagline which is "Our Village, Our Planet," which is really our way of emphasising that it's a village focus, but it's all to do with what we can do to help the overall crises that confront us. We have quarterly meetings, and we've been putting articles in the Parish magazine. And a couple of months into our meetings, Beth from Great Collaboration came and gave a talk to Colwall Greener members and got us all inspired and enthused about holding an event, because we were saying, gosh, you know, here we are sitting here coming up with all this great long list of ideas, and but not really having the horsepower to really take things forward. So we've followed on from the examples of Urdisland and Langaron, and we've decided to have a big event to put us on the map, really. And I hate this word, but I haven't found a better one, to try and generate some horsepower. So we don't just want the ideas, we want the people to implement those ideas who've got time, expertise, good ideas, just with some ability to take things forward. And we also want to find out what people want. We've been very fortunate in having some seed funding from the Malvern Hills AONB, which we're delighted about, that they are really on side with us. And at our event on the 12th of November, and I've been stuffing these through people's doors around the village and Malvern and Ledbury and anywhere else I could find. We've got about 30 stalls and about 6 talks from experts. It's all being held in the village hall with some overspill into the primary school next door. They've kindly let us use both their car park and the school hall. We've got 3 zones. We've got an ecology zone, so all the usual suspects like Herefordshire Wildlife Trust, Vincent Wildlife Trust, Herefordshire Meadows, Colwall Orchard Group, many more are in that area. We've got a reducing your carbon footprint zone. So we've got Kepler Energy, Octopus Energy, Building Sense, and a gentleman who's just starting a business doing heat loss surveys. I mean, these are not all of them. These are just examples of who's where. And we've got some stands about reuse, recycle, and that sort of thing. And we've also got a using your voice area. So we've got Extinction Rebellion at one end of the spectrum, and we've got Sustrans at the other. We've got Helen Heathfield from the Green Party, who's going to do a stand and a talk about using your voice. So really something for everyone, including for the children, a children's art competition and activities, which are all sort of eco-related. And we thought it would be really nice to get Robin Coates back again, as he was the first convener of Colwall Greener. So he's going to open the event on the 12th. I've kind of rather focused on that because I'm hoping, we're all hoping, that this is going to generate more interest in the group, but more importantly, more interest in doing something and help us to understand what people want. What projects do people want to focus on in the village? Is it recycling? Is it heat loss surveys? What are the ideas coming forward? And the Great Collaboration will be there with their stands to help us in this effort to find out what people really want to focus on. We had a talk last week, and I was delighted. Thank you, Claire, for coming along to that in our lovely ale house, which is part of St James's Church. Helen Heathfield gave a talk, which is a sort of scene setter for the event, with the theme of which was basically, in the face of the enormity of the climate crisis, you can become completely overwhelmed and demoralized about what you can do, when actually there are things you can do. Everybody needs to be given that encouragement. Following on from November's event, we propose to have monthly events and talks in the ale house on these themes, and we hope projects that we can take forward. We've got quite a full website now, so if anyone has any questions, just Google Cobble Greener. Our website will come up, and there's a web address there that and we'd love to hear from you, particularly with any advice or top tips. I certainly shall be sleeping better after the 12th of November, but that's me. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you.
Sheila, thank you so much for that. And I just was amazed at how much you'd already got done. It was fantastic. Can I just say I forgot to mention my job, which I'm project coordinator for the Great Collaboration. And Beth Wilkinson was my predecessor, and part of our role, my role now, is to support parishes with the things that Sheila's doing right now. So I see Steve Kerry from Herefordshire County Council's got your hand up. Is it something that could wait until we get into the workshops, Steve, afterwards, or is it specific?
No, it's just a very brief question. I'm not Herefordshire County, I'm Hereford City, by the way.
City, I do beg your pardon.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm a parish like everybody else.
Oh, I beg your pardon, yeah.
Just a bit concerned in that last presentation, there's that long list of organisations that you're inviting and so forth. You included Extinction Rebellion, who are routinely engaged in unlawful activity, including criminal damage and acts of public disorder. I think you will gravely undermine your credibility if you associate with a group who believes that because they think the law is wrong and that politics has failed, and that elected politicians dare not to agree with them, that they have the right to break the law and inflict their law breaking on everybody else. I think that would be a grave mistake. They've crossed a line and they're on the other side of it.
May I come back on that?
Of course.
Thank you, Steve. We did think very seriously about it, and I have had some very open and frank discussions with the gentleman from the Malvern branch of XR, who will be bringing a stand along. Malvern Group have not engaged in any of those illegal activities. They can happen in any organisation that does campaigning. We very much view them as part of the landscape in this area of interest, and it would be equally wrong to exclude them on the basis that some of their members have engaged in illegal activity. I think a lot of people, including myself, would agree with some of your sentiments there, Steve, but we did think about it and we decided that we would include them, and we'll see what happens on the day. But we're not just including them, we are including others as well.
Thank you both for that. Vicky, is this on the same matter, or is it a different question?
No, it's the same matter. It was only to say, I think we need to be careful that Extinction Rebellion isn't tarred with the activities of Just Stop Oil and Insulate Britain, who used to be part of Extinction Rebellion, but who was asked to leave because their actions were too extreme. And I think that Extinction Rebellion still gets tarred with that brush. And an awful lot of people in Extinction Rebellion agree totally with what Steve has said. So I was only just making that point. They are different organisations, Just Stop Oil and Insulate Britain.
Right, Thank you. Thanks very much for that. I'm conscious of time, and I'm really, really pleased to see that Councillor Mary Albright actually managed to get in. She had some technical problems. So I hope she's managed to catch her breath now. Mary, are you okay to go ahead?
Thank you. Sorry about missing the early part. I was a little bit panic stricken when I realised I needed to change computers. I'm actually here standing in for my colleague Ben Woodcock, so I'd have felt really bad if I hadn't got through, because I'd have let him down as well. I am a parish councillor, but I'm also part of our environment and sustainability group, which is kind of a subgroup working independently of the parish council, but obviously reporting back to the parish council. And our background comes back from about 12 months ago. We realised that the parish council were making lots of decisions that needed a kind of climate, ecology, sustainability eye over them. And we were lucky that there were 3 or 4 councillors with a particular interest in this. And we decided that although we're only tiny, we could probably make a declaration of a climate emergency, and we added on a biodiversity emergency as well, knowing that parishioners were particularly worried about that element of the various emergencies that people were declaring. So once we'd done that, then it was a next natural step to see if there was anybody within the parish who would like to take a subgroup forward. And we did know that there would be people, so that kind of, the steps were all taken in place with that in mind. And so the Environmental Sustainability Group has been in place for about a year, and we're a working group as opposed to a direct parish council element, but we are supported by the parish council clerk, and that really does help us, because otherwise, you know what meetings are like, sometimes they go off on different directions, and especially as we've all got slightly different reasons and interests for being in the group, the clerk is quite a good vehicle for kind of galvanising us to make sure we get things done, so that we're not kind of talking about things, but we are actually achieving. About 3 or 4 councillors attend every meeting, and there's normally about 10 other people at each meeting, so we have quite a good turnout for a subgroup, to be honest. I've been on subgroups before, it's probably just me and the clerk, so that's quite a good turnout. And we understand there are loads of reasons why people attend the meetings, and it might be a personal priority, or it might be something that's happened in the parish. And the way we try and work it is that every view is useful, and every view might be something we could carry forward. It might not be done in an order that we've identified previously, but we will get there eventually. And we review the ideas every year. So we try and make sure that the parish council are always on it, and we have a standing agenda item, so the group always willing and able to mention something at every meeting. So that does make things a bit more streamlined as well. We help the parish council produce policies and decision and evidence bases for those decisions, but we're also helping the parish council work towards a carbon zero target, and looking about how the policies and directions of travel might have impacts on other things within the parish, so that we're not making a decision that then makes it harder to do something else that the parish council might have responsibility for. And lots of those things are to do with procurement, to be honest. As a parish council, we have to buy things, spend things, commission things, and it's quite useful having the group there to kind of say, is that the right thing to do? Some recent examples are the memorial benches we're replacing. After 35 years, they've kind of started to kind of disintegrate, and a few people had suggested plastic benches because they would last forever. And that's when the environmental group could step in and say, actually, plastic has a kind of environmental cost, and we've decided to buy wooden, locally made benches instead. So things like that, it kind of really does help us make sure that everything we do as a parish council is for the best practice, best impact. Some of our early initiatives, we based around the fact that Herefordshire Council had the climate and nature grants available. So we did look at all of our things that we kind of discussed and itemised as priorities, and then which one of those would fit into the grant, because like all these groups, we don't have any money. So it's really difficult to get meaningful things done unless you can have kind of a fund to facilitate it. And the 2 things we chose were energy saving Erdersland and a tree audit. Energy saving Erdersland had the idea of directly reducing carbon footprint through improvements to homes, and going back to the comment made earlier about we have a lot of listed buildings, a lot of black and white timber frame buildings, we realised there were challenges with that, because I do planning for my day job. I knew that some of the things were difficult for those types of properties, so we kind of had that as something that would be useful to lots of people. And then the tree audit was probably identifying something that made our parish really special, which is the natural environment, and then how could we help protect that, but also how could we put a value on to these things that people might have not previously realised. Now, both of those initiatives also help the parish council form policies and make decisions. So again, they kind of always feed back into something that's practical for the parish council. We had a really good public launch event for those two initiatives to kickstart those, and it tied in with us extending our village hall, which that was one of the precursors for the environmental group, is that we were finding it very difficult to make decisions or get our contractor to make decisions with an ethical sustainability decision behind them. So opening the extension to the village hall and having these two initiatives launched was a really good turnout. So hundreds of people came, it was really good. And we could then have a good visibility for the great collaboration and the greener footprint stands that we had, but also showcased our village shop, which have always been really keen to be part of the proposals. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to...
Yeah, Mary, I think we might have to wrap this up.
Shall I just say that a few of the things, if anybody wants to know the outcomes of those two things, we're really keen to share knowledge. So we've done certain things, and if people want to ask us about the thermal imaging or the tree audits, we're really, really happy to collaborate and kind of share the information so people aren't doubling up, but also where you can see the value. And then we've got a few emerging initiatives, and one of those I really wanted to focus on was the plastic-free Erdersland, which is going really well. And our village shop has just had a drinking water tap installed, which means that they're no longer going to be selling plastic bottles of water. And then something as visible as that, we're hoping we'll be able to platform further out. So those are the three main things at the moment. There are a couple of other things as well that we've got ticking along in the background.
Thank you so much. I'm going to suggest that we don't have questions now, but maybe Nigel, if we can move on to you from Langaran Parish Council.
You may, and I will try and talk very quickly. I am chairman of Langaran Parish Council, and I also chair our local environment group. I have a confession to make. I don't read The Guardian. I don't do green things generally. I come from a very corporate background. However, I have discovered equally that my background doesn't prevent me or preclude me from caring about the environment, both globally and locally. The Archenfield Community Environment Group was set up in May 21, which was an interesting time to start doing an environment group. And it came out of being approached by a local resident who asked us to join the Herefordshire Green Network, which we did. We also then declared a climate emergency, and soon after that, we set up, as the other two speakers did, a kind of semi-autonomous working group from the Parish Council, which has 2 councillors and 2 local residents. Our aims are for the communities to have an awareness and understanding of what we can do together, to ask residents to take an active role, and an aim to be seen as an environment champion so that we can spread the word. As I mentioned, we started in May 21. It was during various lockdowns. So I hope that if people set up their groups in the future, they won't have that extra challenge. What have we actually done? We started off, bearing in mind we're all locked up partially, by doing monthly newsletters, which was communicated by Facebook groups. We put stuff on village notice boards, and it was mostly about recycling and other nature projects. And like Sheila, and I wish you luck with your event, We had a launch day in March of this year. It's quite stressful. Good luck. We had 24 stallholders, I think, ranging from the AONB, Herefordshire Green Network, Herefordshire Wildlife Trust, Herefordshire Council, Octopus, Kapler, Ross Muddle Farm. We were very fortunate with the weather. The sun shone, and we had over 250 people attend on the day from around the parish and beyond. We think it was a great success. Of course, there were things that we could have done better, or felt we could have done better. But what we did afterwards was take a long sigh of relief that we'd done it all right, and then looked at what the 3 priorities should be for the future after talking to people at that event. And they came out to be nature, buildings and energy, and waste. So what have we done since? We have established monthly talks. We've had one on rivers. We had Gordon Coppuck of the Herefordshire Green Network come and talk to us about energy. We've had one on bees. We've had one on hedges and trees. And I'm pleased to say that we've had between 40 and 50 people come to each of these talks, which I think is very encouraging. We also held an energy day to which we had 6 talks across the day. We had probably about 25 people to each talk. Building Sense came, and we had a couple of local residents come to talk about how they'd made their house passive. We've also got talks coming up on ancient woodlands, ethical investment, and a farm walk with Ben Taylor Davis, who people may know. Other future activity that we've got, we need to build a website, because one of the things we haven't got at the moment is that. We're going to do a wildflower verge trial. We're going to establish a litter picking group in early March and try and tackle some of the Himalayan balsam that infests the brooks around us. How do we fund ourselves? We started off by putting our own money in, not a lot, but some. The Parish Council has supported us. We've had now starting to collect donations. We've had some grants, and Kapler, after coming to our event and getting a fistful of leads, actually gave us 350 quid, which is very nice of them. One of the things that we've learned is communication is vital. So I've said we need a website. Facebook is a kind of Marmite, but we need leaflets, we need posters, which I appreciate is printing paper, but that's sometimes the way we have to communicate with people. So in conclusion, what I would say is that we know that climate change is here. We know that our children, and in my case grandchildren, are vulnerable and concerned. I don't want my epitaph to be set to be, he did nothing. We can and should be doing more than we are. I think that each parish could and should be doing more. There seems to be, when I hear, as I did, a local farmer say, the why, what's the problem with the why? Oh, a few houses flooding, who cares? And I see a local plan being proposed that I don't think has any real sustainable focus whatsoever. So I will stop by saying, we know we need to do something, please act. Thank you.
Thank you all 3 of you. I hope what you'll see is that different communities are approaching this in different ways, but definitely using the information they're getting from their local community to take action. Some of them are focused at the moment mainly on nature, and I think that's fine, because if you start engaging on some aspects of the issue, then you can start hooking people into other, perhaps more meaty subjects like community energy projects or car sharing or other things. And some are focusing on the higher level aspects of the carbon reduction challenges right away, straight off. And I think that's fine too. But I think, Lorna, are somebody going to pick this up now and we're going to have a wider discussion? Is that the new decision?
Yeah, thanks very much, Claire. Thank you. And thank you to all our speakers. I think it's really obvious how passionate everybody is about this. It's great to see so many people here and so many people doing such great work to support. We were going to have workshops where we were going to, in small groups, share plans for projects, current projects as well that might be going on in our areas, and also discuss any support requirements that we might have. But I think we're going to struggle to have the workshops and get the feedback in. So what I'm going to do is I am going to open up the floor. If you are in an area that is undertaking a green project, has plans to undertake a green project, and you would like to share what you're doing with the group, please do. I can see when people use the hand up button, I can't see people actually with their hand up. But so if I'm not getting to you, it's because I can't see you. Feel free to shout out. Jane has just put some comments in the chat. If you'd like to say something and you're not getting an opportunity, please feel free to jot it in there. Again, with support requirements, if you're working on a project and there are things that you need a hand with or would like some expert advice on, please pop it in the chat. We'll review it after the meeting and we'll try and get some information to you. Steve, I can see your hand.
I'm very pleased to say that our bid for Stronger Towns Fund money for electric buses to do a circular route around the centre of Hereford, linking the railway station, the bus station, which will one day be one, but at the moment are two, with the hospital, the major retail centres and the major tourist attractions, particularly the cathedral, the museum and the river. That money has been approved. The first half of it has arrived, and I'm in the process of sorting out who we're going to order the buses from and who the bus supplier will be. I think it will be the first electric buses running in the county, certainly on a regular basis, and for at least the first 3 years and probably longer, it will be free to use.
Fantastic. So what we say then, everyone's got to get on a bus. No excuses.
It won't pollute.
Yeah, no excuses. And if for the first 3 years it's free, we've got no reason not to, right?
Absolutely.
Fantastic, brilliant. Thanks very much. Councillor Bartlett, hi.
Hi, yeah, just a couple of things around Leominster Town Council, really. So we've got quite a large building. We're very best in being able to have quite a large building, and it's an old building. We haven't got double glazing, which we would need to put on the inside because of conservation, etc. But we have actually done all of the loft insulation with wool, natural wool insulation to cut that down, and we've changed all of the light bulbs for LED, and that includes our Christmas lights as well. And we did have to get a new boiler, but we've got the most efficient boiler that we've been able to. For us, it's about making those small changes first. So we've got an environmental group that's part of the Environment Committee that meets monthly and just starting to pick up on issues. And we've managed to do quite a bit of tree planting. So, but for us, around the energy use of our building, and we're looking at the rest of the toilets and what have you about putting solar panels on that. So yeah, really majoring on energy at the moment in Leominster.
Fantastic, thank you. Has anybody else got any projects that they're working on? Anything that they would like to work on? Anything in the pipeline? Or any thoughts or comments that anybody would like to share? Or any questions that you didn't perhaps get to raise earlier? I'm just going to skim through. Oh, Nina. Oh, hi. Hi, Nina. Nina and I work together over in Ledbury. Please take the floor, Nina.
Okay, I just thought it might be interesting to tell people what we're doing in Ledbury. It's all a bit, how can I put it? It's all a bit patchy. And that's what I'd say to any group, any council, any parish council, any group at all when they're starting out. Don't worry if it's patchy. And I kind of got involved because I helped set up Sustainable Ledbury. Before I got involved with the council. We have now got a climate emergency declaration on the council, which we've had for a while. We've got a climate change working party. In the middle of all that, there was a change of quite a few of the councillors. Some are incredibly supportive. Some people, some of the councillors clearly don't understand. So we've got work to do with fellow councillors as well as with the public. But the sort of things that the approach I took with Sustainable Ledbury was get a measure of where the energy is and then get people involved in doing something about that subject. Don't try and set an agenda of the things that a few of us think are really important, but see what there's energy about. And out of that, we got a project going, improving the environmental quality of the town trail. We've got things that was with Sustainable Ledbury. We've got through the council, there's quite a lot of energy about litter. So we're actually trying to get a coordinated approach because lots of groups do litter picking. Sometimes they're out on the same day, sometimes it doesn't get done for weeks. So we're going to try and coordinate that so it happens regularly and the town always looks tidy. And at the moment, a lot of what we do is trying to spot what will capture people's interest. And I keep saying to people, just start doing something, because as people see you doing things, they come and ask. For example, when we're on the town trail, I think about 5 of us started doing it. It's about 20 volunteers now. And a lot of that is because we publish it on Facebook. When we're out on the trail, people stop and talk to us about what we're doing. We're trying to do things whereby we have a stand in town when there's a market or something, talk to people about reducing waste. But the one thing I would say strongly to everybody is do what captures people's energy. If people have got a bit of energy about it, get them to do something. And as they're seen to be doing it, you draw more people in. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Excellent advice. Thanks very much for that. We were going to be hearing from Kelly Watts regarding the Parish Council Reference Group. Unfortunately, Kelly hasn't been able to join us this evening. I'm sure you won't have noticed our seamless covering up of that sudden emergency. So we won't be hearing from Kelly, but I will be handing over now to Councillor Tyler, who is going to close the session for us. So thanks very much to
I have had my hand up for about 10 minutes.
Sorry, Clive, I can't see faces. I can only see the actual hand.
I've got the hands on my screen.
Oh, I can't see that. I do apologise. Would you like to go ahead?
Okay. Right, very quickly, I want to appeal to everybody that's here to write to the county council and insist that they put solar panels on every brand new house, that they make it part of the planning thing. We tried to do this as a town council quite a few years ago, and they didn't want to know us. So please, please, if every parish council agrees with what we're saying, please write a little letter to the planning department in Hereford. Thank you.
Clive, unfortunately, the Herefordshire Council can't insist on private companies doing that. I think Ben can probably fill us in on all of everything on the Herefordshire Council estate is getting solar panels. But I don't, and Ange can probably tell us about our own ways of trying to persuade private companies.
Yeah, thank you. Do you want me to finish up? Ben, you've got your hand up. Do you want to say anything?
I was going to jump in, but if you wanted to, Councillor, I mean, so I was just going to mention the local plan is under review at the moment in terms of planning policy. So that is a key area that we're looking to strengthen in there is the sustainable design. So that is something that the team are pulling together more evidence bases to see what we can ask for locally in terms of taking that further. So as others have said, across the council's estate, we are looking to invest in solar wherever we can on any of the council's estate. We've got probably close to about 30 solar installs across our buildings already. We are currently working with schools to do that. We've got some on the estates down, say, at Rotherworth at Twyford Court, where we've got buildings that others rent and we've got solar panels on the top, so they benefit from that. So I, completely agree with you. We want to put solar wherever we can and wherever it works, but it's got to be done within the local plan, and so that is how we'll do it, through the local plan policy. And so as there's going to be the consultations, please do make those views known.
Yeah,
I hope everybody heard that. Thank you.
Yeah, I did put that in the trail as well in the chats, Amy, if you want to capture that for notes going forward. But do you want me just to, is everybody finished with questions? Anybody else would like to ask a question? Can't see anybody else. Okay, well, conscious of times, 4 minutes to close by Appa's date. Just to recap really of this evening's Talk Parish, it's been a very interesting discussion and learning what people are doing in different parishes. It's extremely wonderful, and I just hope we can all work collaboratively going forward and become more greener. If everybody does a little bit for themselves, hopefully we can start reaching our zero carbon figures by 2030. As we saw in Ben's trajectory, it's looking a bit longer, but if we can do a little bit more, I'm hoping we can all make a difference. In terms of the local plan policies, our Herefordshire Future Homes, we are doing more, and we will be sort of encouraging that through all new development that will come through to Herefordshire and any of our assets, as well as Ben's kindly stated. For anything else, I've thoroughly enjoyed the talk. Please contact us if you've got any further questions from this evening, as Amy's already rightly put forward. And if anybody else would like to share or encourage us to work with you, then please do get in touch with us, and we'd quite happily come out and meet some of the parish councils as well to see whatever we can do to encourage the change that you all require. And all I can say now, thank you all for attending. Thank you for sharing your stories, and look forward to the next Talk Parish. I think, is it December, Amy, our next one?
I'm going to have to ask Vicky Lonigan, our excellent support officer. Vicky?
Okay.
I believe we've got it scheduled in for Monday, the 12th of December.
Okay, quite close to Christmas, yeah. But let's hope we can have our discussions and perhaps wear some Christmas jumpers and celebrate. So thank you all, everybody. Have a good evening. And Amy, are you going to stop the recording?
I'm going to stop now. Thanks very much. Thank you, Councillor Tyler.
That's okay. Good night, everybody, and see you